hopes of independence, and particularly with the financial constraints of it's a matter of that you must look after yourself because there won't be money to look after you.
Many elderly and disabled people rely on social care services that are often subsidised and in some cases free. But worries about budgets could change that. More than 4 in 5 English local authorities surveyed by the BBC said they are considering changing the amounts they charge. That means they're likely to rise. While over half indicated they may change the criteria for deciding who's eligible for free care.
It's not about the ending of support for people in their own homes. That's what we want to provide. That's what people want. People want care that enables them to continue to live in a way that's safe, that meets their needs and keeps them connected with their communities and as independent as they possibly can be.
With people living longer, the cost of providing care is likely to go on increasing. The government is looking at proposals for future funding, but for councils, the decisions will continue to be difficult. Chris Buckler, BBC News.
Weather time now, here's Jay Wynne.
Well, it was a pretty miserable start to the day across large parts of the United Kingdom. An active weather front moving its way from west to east. Not just rain that we've got to contend with today, but strong winds and that combination bringing quite a cold feel to things across pretty much all parts. This is what we saw earlier. You can see this extensive band of rain across most parts of the UK, spreading from west to east, with something a little bit brighter coming in towards the southwest, but with some blustery showers. If you're stuck underneath that rain with those winds, a pretty miserable afternoon. And yes, there will be some snow up over the hills of Scotland, up above, say, 300-400 metres. But that snow level slowly rising as you get on into the afternoon. Pretty miserable conditions though along that eastern coast. Cloudy, dull, windy and wet. A cold feel to things here, as there will be across most of northern England. Just a little bit of snow up over the tops of the Pennines. At lower levels it's rain, persistent rain and a cold feel to things. Just 8 degrees your afternoon high in London with the wind and the rain. A pretty raw feel to things. Down towards the south and west, those temperatures do climb by a couple of degrees, around about 10 or so, but still quite windy, particularly for the southern tip of Cornwall. There will be some brighter spells, but a good rash of showers working their way through on that noticeable breeze. A similar story across the southwest of Wales, brightening up to some extent, but with a few hefty showers. Northern Ireland, well, you saw that rain push through the morning. It did clear away for a time, but it's spreading its way back in from the northeast as we go through the second part of the afternoon. And into the evening, while that rain is there or thereabouts through the Midlands into northern England, still some snow up over the hills. And as you get on to the latter part of the evening, you've got to start to watch this southeastern corner from the Isle of Wight eastwards towards Kent and Sussex. We could well see a good 2, possibly even 3 inches of rain falling in a fairly short space of time. That could cause some trouble. Elsewhere, well, fairly cloudy, windy and quite damp overnight, and chilly as well, just 4 or 5 degrees. Now the chilly feel continues on into tomorrow, particularly up and down that eastern coast with that easterly wind. It's going to drag in a lot of cloud and outbreaks of rain. So the eastern England, cloudy, outbreaks of rain. The further west you are, it's that bit brighter, but wherever you are, another cold day. 7 or 8 degrees, add on the wind, and it will feel even colder than that. Things do settle down on Wednesday. You've got this brief ridge of high pressure, calming things down. The winds fall light as well. But looking in the Atlantic, that's Thursday's weather. So Wednesday, not looking too bad for most of us, but we're going downhill again to wet and windy weather on Thursday.
More than 1 million pages of evidence and dozens of witnesses, a public inquiry starts into deaths at Stafford Hospital. Relatives hope they'll find out what went wrong and why hundreds of patients died.
It's nearly 3 years since I lost my mum, and we still don't have any answers as to why.
A shift of power. Government departments go online and publish their plans for public scrutiny. A survivor of 7/7 describes the moment he saw one of the attackers detonate a bomb on the underground. Counting the cost of care, a new BBC survey suggests councils could start charging the elderly more for basic services. And can radio silence make it to #1? A single is released to raise money for the Royal British Legion.
Later this hour, all the sport, including the Scottish FA are to investigate the violence at the Edinburgh Derby. Coins and flares were thrown during Hearts' win at Hibs.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the BBC News at 1. A public inquiry has started into failings at Stafford Hospital, where hundreds of patients are believed to have died because of inadequate care. Last year, a report condemned conditions at the hospital, listing a catalogue of failings, including untrained A&E receptionists assessing emergency cases. The inquiry will consider more than 1 million pages of evidence and hear from dozens of witnesses. Our health correspondent Jane Hughes is in Stafford for us now. Jane.
Yes, thanks very much. Well, the inquiry just behind me here got underway just over an hour ago. As he opened proceedings, the chairman said he'd already heard many stories of appalling care, and he was here to investigate why the organisations responsible hadn't realised that something so serious was going on and why they hadn't done anything to stop it.
It used to be an ordinary cafe, but Julie Bailey's now turned this into the headquarters of a campaign against the appalling failings at Stafford Hospital, where hundreds of patients died, including her mother. She and other relatives have always said only a full public inquiry with legal powers to call witnesses could answer their questions properly. Today, that inquiry gets underway.
It's nearly 3 years since I lost my mum, and we still don't have any answers as to why. We know what went on at Stafford Hospital to a certain extent, but we don't know why it happened and how long the problems at Stafford Hospital were going on.
Things like patients left in terrible pain, too few senior doctors